Okay, bettering America. That is exactly what we're going to be talking about. Top to bottom, left to right, everything in between. It's the issues of the day that are the only thing that matters. So let's get into it. This is going to be volume 2, and hopefully, if you're a concerned American like I am, you watched the debate last week and obviously came away with views on what you think about both of these candidates. Deeply flawed candidates, as I said in the last episode. But you watched the debate, you heard their answers. Now I'm going to give you what really are the correct answers, what I think most Americans believe in their heart of hearts on what they see that's actually going on. And this is my take on it. So first off, Jake Tapper there, the moderator, went down the line with all the list of questions and so forth. So we're just going to take them just in the order that he brought them out. And again, you've heard what both candidates had to say. Now I'm going to tell you what I believe is the truth. And by all means, you're going to fact check me, them, everything, and you should. Listen to a variety of news sources. Form your own opinion on really what the hell is going on. So first question came up was the out of control inflation and how each of them felt about that and how they were going to fix it. So for Biden's part, clearly, his point was, well, it's really not that bad. Trump was the opposite. It's a nightmare. And I think most Americans, as you look at it, absolutely the economy and inflation are a disaster. And you look at number one in terms of what Biden did and how this whole thing was kicked off and cascaded. The first thing Biden did when he became president was cancel the XL pipeline that would have brought cheap shale oil down from our ally in the north, Canada. And so therefore, with canceling that absolutely constricted the supply. And if he had went ahead and let that go through, certainly the supply would have increased. We all understand economics, supply and demand. If you increase the supply, you're going to satisfy the demand and reduce prices. And it's not just our energy costs, and we're talking on the order of 50% higher. You all know this. From what we were paying for gas back under Trump, we are now at 50% higher. Some places like California even higher than that. But 50% higher for your gas prices. And it's not just gas. The groceries on the shelf, okay, how do they get there? They get there by truck. So those prices are affected. And, in terms of, well, it was the pandemic, it was this and that caused our food prices to go through the roof. That is a lie. And I'm going to tell you, I farm animals for food. A chicken goes from a hatchling to market weight, ready to slaughter, process, and get it over to the grocery store in 8 weeks. 2 months. That's all the time it takes to get that food on the shelf. Eggs. A hatchling chicken goes from being born to being able to produce eggs at full capacity within 6 months. But here we are, 3.5 years after the pandemic and after Biden became president, and our egg prices and poultry prices are 50% at a minimum, 50% higher than where they were when he came into office. So blaming it on the pandemic and right on down the line with every other food product, the other types of things we use every day, caulking, construction supplies, cleaning supplies, right on down the line, to say that it was the fault of the pandemic and gosh, we just haven't been able to figure this whole darn thing out is nonsense. And Americans know that. So that's the truth regarding inflation and where things are at. Next question was the deficit and taxation. And Tapper threw out this notion of quote unquote new spending, as if it matters. So let's get to the truth of who spent what and where the country's at in terms of our national debt. First off, when Trump came in, there was a $20 trillion national debt. And no question about it, during his 4 years, he spent approximately $8 trillion, taking it to $28 trillion. Okay, which there's a whole nother segment there on how unsustainable this is. So no question, he spent a lot of money, even more per year than Obama did, who was the king of spending. He spent 12 trillion, but he did it over 8 years. Okay, then you go over to Biden. So we went from 28 trillion when Biden took office. Currently, we're approximately at 35. Okay, and we still got another 6 months to go. So by and large, that's 7. By and large, we're going to be right in the same amount of spending that Trump did, which, yes, it was too much. So to say that Biden is any better is ridiculous. Whether you say it's new spending or old spending or anywhere in between, spending is spending. And at the end of the day, you have a national debt that is out of control. So both of them fail on that. But here's the real difference. Without question, under Trump, the economy was incredibly strong. I know personally I was able to buy multiple properties in 2 different states, which turned out to be really good investments, and a solid economy. People were working, people are making money. So no question, in terms of who had the better result, Trump gets that one. So next I got into the Roe v. Wade, the abortion issue that was decided by the Supreme Court. And of course the far left is just up in arms over this. Oh my God, you're stopping women from getting health care. What a bunch of nonsense. So back to the truth, despite all the rhetoric and nonsense that you hear from the far left, the truth is simply this. What the Supreme Court decided is that nowhere in the Constitution, and you can read it for yourself, nowhere in the Constitution does it guarantee the right or give the right to a woman to end the life of the unborn baby at any stage of the process there. Nowhere in the Constitution is that articulated. Going back to the Constitution again, hopefully everybody understands the rights that are specifically not given to the federal government are reserved to the states. So, and that is correct. That's how our country was founded. That's the way it should be. So all the Supreme Court did is simply say what is a fact. The right to end the life of an unborn child is not within the Constitution. Therefore, this thing needs to go back to the states. The states are going to need to work it out as to what is appropriate on the issue of abortion. And again, that's going to be a topic for a whole nother segment all on its own, because people are going to have to decide for themselves. Personally, I'll tell you just real quickly, there has to be a date from the conception of when we no longer allow an abortion unless it's in an extreme circumstance, the potential death of the mother, a severely deformed or disabled fetus, that kind of thing. And whatever it is, Is it 12 weeks? Is it 14 weeks? There has got to be a date, a term, at which point we say this is a civil rights issue on a federal level, that we're going to have to decide at what point we cut that off and we say it's too late. You should have been paying more attention as to what's going on in your own body. But hand in hand with that, on this abortion issue, you're going to have some responsibility of the father. And for my money, my position on it, the father needs to be financially and every other way responsible 50% for that child up to the age of 18. And you do that, and you're going to see a whole new awakening of responsibility on this issue of abortion and so forth. But anyways, thankfully, the Supreme Court made the correct decision that they are not to be involved in this. This is a states' rights issue. So call your congressman, get your governor on board, and make a decision. Simply have the intestinal fortitude to make a decision and live by it. So next, the question of illegal immigration came up. Biden, I mean, it's just amazing. He had the audacity to come up, despite all the videos we see, despite all of the statistics, despite all of our border patrol, and on and on and on what a disaster it is, how we're talking in excess of 10 million, I hear numbers of up to 18, under Biden's watch, that have illegally entered this country, and they simply just disappear into the fabric of America. And we know this is how it works. So this is an indefensible position that Biden has. He's going to get hammered on it, and rightfully he should. Under Trump, we had a fantastic border wall being constructed. Biden came in, being a puppet of the far left, and put a stop to that immediately. So here we have billions of dollars in materials and labor and everything else just sitting. We had something that was going to help stop this problem. What's really going to be needed eventually is a national ID, but you have to have a physical barrier, without question. So if there's one issue that is going to hang around his neck like a dead chicken, Biden, it's this illegal immigration. It is a disaster. And if we circle back for a moment here regarding the deficit, taxation, etc., people talk about why. Why would Democrats be wanting this open border situation? And I think the answer is clear. They look at every one of these people coming in, and the fact that it's the far left and the Democrats that are letting them in as future voters. Because keep in mind, any of these young women that come over that either are pregnant or are going to quickly become pregnant in America, every single one of them is going to be an American citizen. Every birth child in America, regardless of the status of their parents, instantly becomes a citizen, with everything that entails: the right to vote in a very short 18 years, immediate responsibility on Medicaid, Medicare, education, right on down the line, which is breaking the country. This isn't something 18 years down the road. Immediately, when these people come into the country, they are now on our backs, your backs, the taxpayer, to pay for them, to educate them, including learning English, etc. On and on and on. It is an incredible, immediate drain on the economy of the United States. Get into other issues in terms of them competing for entry-level jobs. Further down the list here, we're going to talk about the issue with blacks in America. Without question, when you have millions, tens of millions of illegal immigrants, uneducated, etc., pouring into the country, entry-level positions, whether it's young people or other minorities that have been struggling, are going to be affected, without question. So illegal immigration, absolute nightmare under Joe Biden. So then the next question that came up, the Ukraine invasion and Russia's demand that the only way that they're going to end the war is if they're going to be allowed to keep land that they have overtaken during the war. So first off, why did it happen? Without question, in my mind, and look at the dates, within a month, 1 month of Joe Biden becoming president, Russia invaded Ukraine. That is no accident. We certainly understand why it happened. There was a weakness there. Looking at just the ridiculous withdrawal from Afghanistan, or dead soldiers, etc., and certainly a war-weary U.S. and wanting to get out of there. But the way it was handled was ridiculous. Putin saw that opportunity, saw the weakness of a Joe Biden who touted himself as the international statesman. People respect me, vote for me, people respect me, know me, and when I say something, they know I mean it. Ridiculous. Just like we're seeing the mass murder, the terrorist attack, and as we speak, Hezbollah is bringing all kinds of armaments, etc., over in Lebanon, and it appears that they're going to launch an all-out attack against Israel. But again, that was done, of course, under the funding and direction of Iran because of Joe Biden's weakness. And everybody should understand that. Now, in terms of would anybody accept Russia's demand to take land in the war, the answer is no. The correct answer is absolutely not. Okay, we are 2024 on the planet Earth, and no country should have to be concerned about being invaded or conquered by another nation. It simply shouldn't be tolerated. And we certainly don't want to end up in a hot war with Russia, but here's the good news, okay? They don't either. We've all heard the term mutually assured destruction, okay? And it is a fact. If it was America versus Russia versus China or anywhere in between, we have mutually assured destruction. The devastation on all sides would be so great, nobody wants it, and that is what's going to stop it from happening. So lots of other tools in the toolbox there that could be used against Russia, primarily economic, and you just need to make them pay such a price that they're going to have no choice but to give back whatever land they've invaded and get the hell out. So that's the correct answer there. Then we go over to January 6th and concerns over the election results. Now, I watched the speech that Trump gave, and I thought it was an embarrassment. I thought the way he handled it was absolutely wrong. There's no question in my mind that he lost the election, and he beat himself. He had the wind at his back, so many positive things going for him in terms of the 4 years and what he was able to achieve. And instead, it was nothing but personal attacks, childish behavior, etc., etc. So shame on Trump for behaving the way he did and being so thin-skinned and unable to accept the results of that election. Now, without question, Joe Biden has weaponized the justice system. And it's not just him, it's all these Democratic-led DA's offices and AGs and governors around the country. They've all piled on. We saw the same thing with the whole Russiagate thing. No question, Trump has been treated as an outsider of politics, not the 40, 50-year veteran that Joe Biden is. He's been attacked relentlessly. So Trump's behavior was not correct, but you look at what the other side's done in terms of attacking them and everything, and that's certainly wrong too. So that's my take on that. Over to the next one with that is the weaponizing of the federal justice system. That was the next question, I believe. And as I've said, there's no question Biden has done that. Now, go back to an opportunity that Trump had. Trump could have very easily gone after Hillary Clinton after Trump became president. Okay? Without question, Hillary Clinton obstructed justice. Okay? When this whole Russiagate thing and I'm sorry, the emails and all that stuff, you know, all the classified information and ridiculous things that she was doing at that time. Okay, destroying cell phones, you know, while the FBI, Comey, is conducting an investigation, destroying cell phones, destroying hard drives. Okay, Hillary Clinton should be in jail as we speak. Trump could very easily have sicked the Attorney General on her, and she probably would be in jail. Or at least at a minimum, she would have been convicted, house arrest, what have you. But without question, he could have gone after her, and he didn't. So there was certainly some restraint there. Not so with the Biden administration. They have been doing everything they can to go after Trump and encouraging everyone in their party to do the same. So next issue that was brought up is the issue of blacks in America and how they continue to struggle under all administrations. And we're going to do just a complete segment on that because I have some thoughts and it's going to take some time to really break it down. But bottom line is this: without question, for all of the capability of blacks, which is incredible, right on down the line. You look at sports, you look at entertainment, you look at business, hell, you look at the oratory skills of Obama and how he was able to fleece everybody and waltz into the presidency. Okay, blacks are incredibly capable, incredibly talented, but the fact of the matter is, and it goes back a long, long ways, they have not properly assimilated into American culture, American behavior standards, etc., etc. We continue to see, although they only comprise 13% of the population, the crime is committed is roughly 3 times that. Across the board, property crime, violent crime, on and on and on. So we have a behavior problem there, and certainly it goes hand in hand with poverty. But you gotta be honest about these things. The biggest problem that I see over the years is that you need to establish behavior standards, parental responsibility, lawful conduct, education, etc. And that's colorblind. It absolutely needs to be colorblind. It's this is the standard, this is the law, and you are damn well going to follow it. Certainly, blacks got off to an extremely rough start in America. Although slavery was practiced around the world, no question, by the time it's all said and done, you're 350 years into the process. So yes, you've got a lot of beat down, downtrodden black Americans that have had a hard time getting up to speed. Okay, but don't tell me when you've got millions of illegal immigrants, uneducated, that pour in here from Mexico, Central and South America, And we still don't see the level of crime, poverty, etc., that we're seeing in the black community. So it needs to be addressed. So lots of different areas, but this is a behavior problem, and it's something that the way you fix it is you don't give handouts, you set standards across the board, and Americans need to come up, meet the standards, and when that happens, you will succeed. We have the best system going, and without question, you can succeed in America. Then we get over to Social Security was the next issue. And hot button issue, every politician that is asked about this, oh boy, we got to protect Social Security. No, that's a hands-off thing. And it is. Now, the reality is it is a Ponzi scheme. It was a horrible idea to begin with, but it's here. And I'm going to be approaching the age where I'm going to be tapping into those benefits, and absolutely, I paid into it my whole working life. You bet I'm expecting to get those benefits. But you simply have to look at the budget and the deficit that we have in America. Okay, and you're talking about between Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, eats up about $3 trillion. Now, we only have a budget of about $6. So half of the money that comes in gets eaten up by Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. You're going to have to fix that. You're going to have to come in and address it both via taxation and via the benefits are going to have to be paid, so you're not going to be able to get away from the Social Security. But you're going to have to go in and fix just a multitude of fraud, waste, and abuse that occurs in the Medicaid and Medicare system. And again, back over, this goes hand in hand with the illegal immigration. Okay, when you're seeing tens of millions of illegals flood into this country and immediately, day one, become a burden on our healthcare system, that absolutely has to be solved. So yes, there is a problem with Social Security. You're going to have to fix it, but I just told you how. You're going to have to come in and address the fraud, waste, and abuse in the Medicare and Medicaid system. And hand in hand with that is you have got to put a stop to the tens of millions of illegals that are coming in and breaking that system. So next question was the opioid crisis. So our law enforcement, okay, our FBI, our CIA, or certainly our state and local law enforcement, we know where these drugs are coming in, without question. Okay, we know that China is shipping the raw materials, selling the raw materials to Mexico, Central and South America, mostly Central America and Mexico. The drug cartels are then manufacturing these drugs, then they get shipped up, sold in America, and in the process, we are losing about 100,000, primarily our young people, a year. So think about what a hit on that is for us financially in every other way, not to mention loved ones dying with this nonsense. So the question is, how do you stop it? You need somebody with the balls of a Donald Trump. You certainly haven't seen it under Joe Biden. Joe Biden has done virtually nothing to stem this massive problem of drugs flooding into the country and killing our people. So not to mention, it goes hand in hand with the vagrancy crisis, particularly in places like California, where it's the worst by far of any of the 50 states. But people are dying, and Joe Biden has done nothing to stop it. The way you stop it is you start a war on drugs. You use everything in the toolbox with our law enforcement and our military. And I don't care if a cartel happens to be in Mexico or Central America. You take them out. You make them targets of opportunity. You hunt them down like wild dogs, and you take them out. Here in America, start putting some real teeth into the crime and punishment process, to where when you catch a drug dealer that's bringing these things in, okay, all the way up to the death penalty, and you do it federally, so you don't got to worry about these enabler states like California that are simply don't prosecute crimes, period. It's like a revolving door. So that's how you stop it. You come in and you deal with an iron fist and you put a stop to it, number one. Number two, you gotta control the border. So those two things, that's how you solve the opioid crisis. Yeah, do you need to make sure you have good systems of recovery and people that are addicts and so forth? Absolutely. It should be mandated. When you find one of these vagrants or drug addicts, you mandate and you place them in a facility. You don't have a choice. That's where they're going. And they relapse, you send them right back there. Instead of 30 days, you give them 6 months. They do it a third time, you go to prison. So get some teeth, get some balls, and it can happen. So then the next question that came up was, of course, physical and mental capacity concerns. Now, this answers itself. We saw it with our own eyes, even though we've watched this deterioration of Joe Biden go on for months and years. Just the gibberish, the loss of the train of thought, the inability to articulate. It's getting worse and it's getting worse. And again, just as I said on the original election of Joe Biden, what an embarrassment. I mean, this guy is nothing but a glorified mattress salesman, sleazy used car salesman, tell you anything you want to hear, just elect me, elect me. And unfortunately, America bought it. I get it. A lot of people hate Trump. I certainly understand that. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way, me included, on a lot of issues. But you gotta hold your nose on this one, folks, and you're gonna have to make the decision on what is right for the country. And when you look at the cognitive capability of those two men standing up there, there's only one choice, and it sure isn't Joe Biden. So then they get into the acceptance of the election result. You know, I'm not worried about that. I mean, the election is the election. We certainly got to get a handle in this country on ensuring that we have fair elections. And the biggest issue with that is going to have to be, in my opinion, a national ID card. It's the only way to guarantee that the person that's voting is indeed a citizen. One person, one vote. There's only one way to do it. With the mail-in ballots and all this stuff, there's no question there's going to be fraud. Do I think it changed the last election? No, I do not. I think the bigger issue in that had to do with, you had groups like Facebook and then Jack Dorsey's Twitter that were absolutely censoring information such as the Hunter Biden laptop, which we all saw in the previous debate in that election. Joe Biden stood up there and lied to the American people, flat out lied to the American people on the authenticity of that laptop. And we know now, because Hunter's now been convicted, it was absolutely true. And there's more to come out, but Biden's Justice Department is certainly going to stonewall that. Is Biden ever going to see the inside of a prison where he belongs? Of course not. It's just not going to happen. But I'm not too concerned in terms of the acceptance of the election results. It is what it is. And I hope, in this circumstance, that Biden loses by a landslide. So then we wrapped it up with closing statements. And what I want to do, obviously, you all heard them. I think you've heard my position on all of these issues. And the closing statement is really just a wrap up on that. But, you know, in terms of the summary, were you better off under the 4 years with Trump's administration versus the 3.5 years now of the Biden administration? And it's unarguable. For me, by every metric, by all the issues that we've discussed here, without question, we did better under Trump than under Biden by a long shot. These issues that we have of all the things that we've discussed are going to take some hard decisions and a lot of work to try to turn around in this country. But there's no question Biden's the wrong guy. He was wrong back in 2000. He's now 4 years older and can barely speak. It is ridiculous to believe that any responsible American would turn around and vote for this guy. But here's the spoiler alert. Here's the bigger issue. And I hope word gets out. There's no question, as we speak, although Gavin Newsom, governor of California, the darling of the Democratic Party, has just maintained, since he's just recently reelected amazingly to another 4 years in California. But he said again and again, oh, I'm not running. Well, that's changed a little bit here in the last couple of days. Now you're hearing things like, well, you know, I'm ready to step up, that sort of thing. So I've said this for 2 years now. There's no doubt in my mind Gavin Newsom fancies himself, and the Democratic Party has been grooming him for the top job, to become president. And I really believe here in the next week, they've purposely held Newsom back because, let's face it, if America understands the record that Gavin Newsom has in California, they're going to run for the hills because he's been a disaster. I'm a resident of California, but I also have a business and homes in Nevada. And so I know of what I speak. I can compare the proper management of a state versus one like California, which is a disaster by every single metric. So the concern that I have is that in the coming weeks or even months, Democratic Party, they've long had this plan, certainly Newsom has. They've been holding back because if you can limit, I believe, to the exposure of just a few months, well, there's going to be very limited time for word to get out and people to understand what an incompetent idiot Gavin Newsom is. I mean, all the things that he's done to the state, economically, it's a disaster. Huge deficits now. He's encouraged illegal immigration. Right now, in California, they've opened up taxpayer-funded free health care to illegals. That's under Gavin Newsom. Vagrancy, the worst in the country. They've just now put on the ballot, although they've spent $24 billion, something like that, to quote-unquote fight homelessness and vagrancy in California. Under Newsom's watch, all that money, it's doubled. There are now double the vagrants in California than there ever were. And you want to talk about fraud, waste, and abuse. Oh, my God. The mayor down there in L.A. Came out and was so proud of the high-rise building that they built for the vagrants to give them free houses. Of course they're not free. The taxpayers in California pay for them. Guess how much they cost? We're talking a little one-bedroom, essentially apartment type situation. $600,000 plus each. That's what a developer, and you can guess on which party that developer supports. That's how much California taxpayers have paid to put vagrants, without any requirements of drug testing, etc., to give them free houses. How do you think that's going to work out? I'll tell you exactly how it's going to work out. You're simply going to have an apartment trashed by a vagrant, and it was paid for by the California taxpayer. The bottom line, the more money you give to people without any responsibility whatsoever in correcting their behavior, the more vagrancy you're going to have. It's been proven. Yet, Gavin Newsom doubles down on it. They've just proposed now a doubling of the sales tax from 1/4 cent to 1/2 cent, going directly into the coffers of what now is known as the homeless industrial complex. These are all the people that are on the take, that are jumping on the bandwagon. Oh yeah, we got to fight homelessness in California. And millions and billions keep flooding into their coffers, and the homeless numbers keep going up every year. And it's gotten extremely dangerous. People are being raped and murdered almost on a daily basis down in California. It's a nightmare. You know, you go to areas, you're constantly harassed by these idiots. And again, it's under Gavin Newsom. So a complete disaster. It goes right back to the crime thing. Their Prop 47. This is all 100% supported, promoted by Gavin Newsom. That was the steal all the way up as much as you want to $950. There's virtually no punishment. That's why you see these smash and grabs going on daily. There's more crime going on in California right now than there ever has been. And again, I grew up there. I know exactly of what I speak. That's under Gavin Newsom. So right on down the line, education, racial issues, gridlock, every single metric in California under Gavin Newsom has gotten worse. So my concern is he will be on the ticket, certainly if not this year, then in 2028. But I believe that they are going to find a way. There's no question Biden is going to have to step down. Just now today, for the first time, a Democrat in Congress has come forward and stated the obvious. Joe, it's time. This cannot go through. You're going to destroy the party if you don't step down. So that's the warning, folks. Do with it what you will. Fact check everything that I've said. Formulate your own opinion on what should be happening, what works and what doesn't. But please get involved, get out there and vote. It is the #1 thing that you can do to better America.